Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make Postoids, and these are these cute little postage stamp looking decorations. You can tear them apart, use them as embellishments on cards, or even make a whole card front like this. I'm going to show you some tools that you can make yourself to make these, and it's really going to help you get a lot of use out of your smaller stamps, like these cute stamps from Rubber Stamp Tapestry. They're our sponsor today. You can find out more about what they offer by visiting pegstamps.com and check out the video description for a handy coupon code to save you some money. And I just used a variety of their sets to make these cute little post-it notes, Postoids, and I just think they are so much fun. So what you're going to need is some white cardstock. And I wouldn't go with a super thick cardstock because you're going to want to be able to cut it with decorative scissors. And then what you're going to need to do is make some masks. And I've got some examples here. This is one right here I cut from clear packaging, clear acetate, like the kind that you could use in an overhead projector. I also used post-it notes to make some little masks. Basically, we need to make a window that we can stamp through. I've made some that are full grids, like this one here, and this is out of cardstock. And you can use a die cutter to do this, or I just used a ruler and X-Acto knife. Whatever you have is fine. You can make them whatever size you want. This one's made out of post-it notes, and I just stapled them together. And the nice thing about using post-it notes is that they'll stick to your paper, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then again, I have a couple different variations using clear acetate, and I even made some that were to do like the international postage, that is like the triangular ones. I like postage stamps. I have a little collection of postage stamps, and I think they're kind of cool. And you can see how the light hits that that template right there. So really, sky's the limit. You can totally use your imagination and make some really cool designs. You also want some either decal edge scissors, or I like these postage ones by Fiskars, but if you can't find them, any sort of like notched, either pinked or decal scissors would be fine for this. You're just giving the impression of postage stamps. You're not trying to fool anybody. You're not trying to fool the postal service. You're just kind of making these tiny little works of art. And they're so fun to make in a big batch, and then you can use them up as you need to when you create cards. So let's move this stuff out of the way, zoom in a bit, and get started. The first thing I want to show you is how to create a grid, because these are really handy because you get to do multiples at once. You can either use them as a sheet, or you can tear them apart and use them as individual little decorations or embellishments. Stamps add so much, and they're kind of harder to collect nowadays because most everything is self-adhesive and they're harder to find. So we're going to start off by stamping the larger objects in this, and I'm going to go in with this coral in kind of an orange color. Let's see how this color looks. I think this is the one I used, and I'm going to do it right in the corner of each of these little windows that I've made. You can make each one different. That's totally fine. I just want kind of the look of a first edition kind of cover sheet of stamps. I'm kind of old-fashioned, so I'm going to make them all the same. But you do whatever you want on your artwork. And I want to make a little starfish here. I think I'm going to go with this brown. These ink pads I'm using are the Kaleidocolor ink pads. I really like them for these small stamps because they're, whoops, I just got green. I'm gonna keep a baby white handy to tab your stamp off if you get the wrong color ink. I think they're really handy for these small stamps because you get five colors in a pad. But again, use what you have. Use a marker if that's what you have to ink them up. Even a Crayola marker, it doesn't matter. It's just a little more convenient, and that's why I'm using it. I want to put a little shell in here, and I think I'll do that in blue. And we'll put him right kind of tucked in behind that coral. And you can go ahead and stamp right over your acetate. Whatever you make your mask with, it should be fairly thin. So if you're using cardstock, use a thinner cardstock. Acetate's really thin, so it works really well. The only thing, and I'll kind of show you that in a little bit, the only thing with the acetate is that you have to be careful when you go to stamp on it, because there are times you're going to stamp on it. I'll show you. Maybe we'll use this darker brown for the sand dollar. You're leaving some ink behind, so when we go to blend our color, when we go to fill in the area with some sponged color, it's going to pick up whatever's on the acetate. So that's where I kind of actually prefer using masks that I've made out of cardstock, because I don't end up smearing and reactivating that ink on my Postoid, but completely up to you. I'm going to use kind of like a tealy color think that's the color. I'm just double checking my other, I have quite a few of these pads. I really enjoy them. I was just checking my color to make sure that's what I used. Alright, just want to make sure I had the right color that I was using before. And we'll put this fish swimming in from the side over here on each of these. I don't know how easy these Kaleidocolor ink pads are to find. I know you can find the empty ones and fill them up with whatever you have. And I just go right in. I'll go in with whatever re-inkers I have, and I'll go back and fill them in. And I know I want a little bit of a purple here, so I think I'm going to go with the purple from this pad. Just make sure that if you have a bunch of them, you get the right lids on them. And also, always make sure that you store them apart. Sometimes we push them together because we want to do a brayer or we want to do a rainbow effect on a stamp, but you always want to store them like that so that you don't end up having the ink migrate from section to section on there. Now, I'm going to do a second and third generation here. I'm going to stamp my little fish and then stamp a couple more times so I get 3 different shades of purple there. I'm going to do that on each of these. We're really filling it up, but it's such a small space. I think it also helps, like if you're new to kind of scene building or collaging, it kind of helps you get over that fear of, okay, where do I put what, and you know, how do I fit it all in? So that hopefully this will make you a little bit less nervous about that. So now we want to put in some background, because right now what we have is just kind of like a general, you know, it's still going to be white. We're not going to have like a border. So what I'm going to do first is actually go through and wipe away any ink that is on the acetate, because when I go to sponge over this, it's going to smear it onto my design, and I don't want that. So, and it will, because it can kind of mess up my sponges or my ink brushes as well. Now you can use a sponge, or you can use a color duster, a stipple brush, whatever you like to use is just fine. I think I'm going to go in with my color dusters, and I'm just going to swipe back and forth here to give it some blue in the water. Whoops. You do have to be careful you don't brush it under the acid. The acetate, for some reason, when using the color dusters, it's a little more difficult because it wants to kind of let the hairs go underneath. I'm not exactly sure why. I noticed that when I was doing the triangular one. I'll show you right here with the sea turtles. You can see I did get a little bit of blue in there because of the I could get the bristles underneath the thin acetate. So just to kind of keep aware of that. And then I'm going to do a little bit of brown. I think I'll just use this lighter brown here. Let's see if that's dark enough. And I'm just going to put a little bit on the bottom so it's kind of like there's some sand. And I'm pouncing it so I get a little bit more texture than I do in the sky, or in the water rather. Pounce, pounce, pounce. And I taped this down with a little washi tape so my my stencil wouldn't move, my mask wouldn't move when I was working. Now something else you can do or not do, it's completely up to you, is take a marker while your stencil's still down and trace it. And I just noticed that I had a little rip right through there. I think it's because I cut it with an X-Acto knife, or I overcut a little bit, so I'm just going to be really careful when I go there. And I'll just repair that with a little bit of tape. I'll probably just put a little piece of tape on the stencil, maybe on the back side or something. Not a big deal. I've had this for years. I like doing these. I haven't done them in a while though. They're so much fun. I've done a swap before. They're fun to swap. Okay, and then if you want to write like 25 cents or forever or whatever you want on there to make it look more like a postage stamp, you can. That's totally up to you. I think I'm going to pass. Also, if you had small letter stamps, that would be really good for that. And this is what you end up with. And then to turn it into a stamp, what I like to do first is take my postage edge scissors, or decal scissors, whatever you have, and I'm just going to very carefully, and I don't cut all the way to the end of my scissors. I kind of go till I'm a few little notches from the back so that I can line up my scissors each time. And then I'm just going to go up along the edge. I'm just basically cutting the perimeter here. These are so much fun to make, and really fun to do with kids too. Make a Father's Day card and put a couple of these on the front. I mean, you're done. It would be so easy. I'll get this side here. Now, if you are going to use these all individually, I recommend using your scissors to cut them apart. But if you want to keep them in a panel like this, get a mouse pad or a piece of fun foam or something soft like that, and you can either use a like a needle tool, or you can use one of these rolling paper piercers. You can get this from Scor-pal or from EK Success. The EK Success one is pink, if they still make them. And this one obviously matches the Scor-pal colors. And I just roll, I freehand it. You can use a ruler if you want to. And that just makes those kind of like perforated lines so that you could like tear it apart if you wanted to use individually, or just put it on a card because it looks like a sheet of stamps, which I think is really kind of fun. And you could even make some of these to commemorate an event, and then you could like tear them up and give them to everybody that participated, or, you know, be creative, have fun with it. It's such a fun idea. All right, the next thing I want to show you is doing like a single one. And I actually have this little postage stamp punch from Stampin' Up, which I'm like, you know what, that's just a little over an inch, so it'd be really cute for doing inchies. And inchies are just like 1 inch by 1 inch little pieces of art, so I thought that would be really cool, or for making for faux postage, so I snagged that when it came out a while ago. So we're going to start off again. We're just going to grab a piece of cardstock, and I'm going to just tear off a piece there. We'll zoom in a little bit, make it a little bit easier for you to see. And then I'm going to take my handmade, it's just 4 Post-it notes put together, and then I stapled them just to give them a little extra security there, and I put some washi tape on there, and it does extend a little bit, so this is going to stick down on my paper really, really well. And I think I'm going to use my little crab stamp here because he's so cute, and ink that up with a nice bright red. And let's see, I'm going to stamp him right in the center. Oh my gosh, so cute. Love that. And then I'm going to use a sponge this time. And what this is a cosmetic sponge, you know, the little cosmetic wedges from the Dollar Tree or the supermarket, drugstore. I put some hot glue in a bottle cap. I folded the sponge so the ends were together, and I shoved it in the glue, and I got a perfect little sponge dauber. And I'm inking this up with some light blue. Here it's kind of like a light teal, and I'm just going to sponge it on. And then I'm going to grab some, I've got this Distress ink because I don't have any really light kind of tan colors in these Kaleidocolors, so I'm just going to use this and another one of my fancy sponge daubers. I do have a video on this if you need to see more detail on how I made that. And I'm just going to pounce that in there. And I think I will outline this just because it does give it a little bit of definition. And even these little Post-it note masks can be used time and time again. And if I want, I could write 21 cents. I don't know, can you still mail a postcard for 21 cents? I don't even know if you can anymore. And then you could, you could flick on some ink if you wanted that to be a little more textured, but I think what I'll do is just take this color duster here, and I think I'll just pick up some of this dark brown from this pad and just pounce it a couple times, just so I get a little bit of a sandy texture in there. And then I'm going to use a white gel pen to put some bubbles. And I know our little crab's actually on the, and just like a little, maybe a line for waves and surf. But I just think it gives it a little bit of definition. I just think it looks fun. You don't have to do that. That ink does take a while to dry. I've got it all over my hand because I did a sheet of these. And this, I did use a toothbrush to speckle some ink on those, but yeah, I laid my hand in it. I got that white ink all over my hand. But then you take your mask off, and you can either cut around it with your decorative scissors, just like I showed you on the border of this, or since I have a punch for this, I will need to cut in a little closer. I should have masked this a little bit closer to the edge because I need to get in a little closer to use the punch. But what you want to do when you're trying to punch around something like this is flip your punch over, put it in like that so you can make sure it's lined up perfectly. It's always easier to stamp than punch, I think, when you're doing this. And then look at that, it's so stinking cute. Can you stand it? I can hardly stand it, it's so adorable. And I'll show you the little one I did with the seahorses because I used the exact same technique for that. Where'd that seahorse go? Right here. And again, these stamps are by Rubber Stamp Tapestry. You can find them at pegstamps.com. Try this technique. You're going to have fun with it. You're going to have so many fun embellishments to swap with other stampers, or to commemorate special things, or just to decorate your cards. It's just a really fun project, and I do hope you try it out, especially these triangles. These are really, really fun. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. I'll have links to all the products I used in the video description. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting!